You sit there, unaware of the universal machinery grinding into motion on your behalf. While you've been sleeping, forces beyond mortal comprehension have been excavating truth from the soil where they thought it was buried forever. The same person who once looked you dead in the eyes and denied everything is now scrambling to contact you. The same hands that crafted elaborate lies against you now tremble, holding their phone, wondering how to begin their confession. Not because they've found morality hiding in their coat pocket, but because their attorney knows what awaits them beyond those courtroom doors. Make no mistake, this moment isn't arriving by chance or circumstance. This is divine timing, manifesting in human affairs. The cosmic ledger demands balance, and your vindication stands ready like a sword of fire about to cleave through deception. They once held the narrative in a stranglehold. Your story, your truth, your character, all distorted under their manipulative hands. But even the strongest grip weakens with time, and now their fingers slip from the throat of your reputation. The walls they built to contain you are cracking open, revealing the vastness of your rightful space in this universe. You were misjudged. You were slandered. You were set up to fall like a sacrificial offering at the altar of their ambitions. Yet here you stand, unbroken. Their attorney sees it clearly now. They picked the wrong cosmic force to reckon with. They walked the world confident, didn't they? Shoulders back, chin high, wearing their deception like expensive cologne. Overpowering, impossible to ignore, making everyone in the room dizzy with its potency. They believed so completely in their power to remake reality that they nearly convinced the universe itself of their lies. Remember how they forged documents with steady hands, how they manipulated evidence with surgical precision, how they twisted facts until truth itself screamed for mercy. Each act executed with the calm assurance of someone who believes they'll never face consequences. They constructed a fortress of falsehoods around themselves, brick by calculated brick. A master architect of deception, they stood back admiring their handiwork. Nobody will ever break through this. Fool, the higher forces intervened with the silent efficiency of celestial clockwork. One thread pulled loose, just one, and suddenly, the entire fabric of their creation began to unravel with unstoppable momentum. What they don't understand, what they never understood, is that the universe doesn't recognize forgeries. The cosmos cannot be deceived. The great machinery of justice may appear slow, but it grinds with devastating thoroughness. Only now, as evidence surfaces like bodies rising from the depths of a lake, do they realize fighting against you was their terminal mistake. The battle was lost before it began. Not because of any tactical error, but because they stood in opposition to something far greater than you alone. They positioned themselves against truth itself. Their realization comes too late. The mechanisms they set in motion cannot be stopped. The courtroom awaits. The judge's gavel is already raised in the realm of inevitability. And their attorney, their last line of defense, has surrendered to reality. Tell them everything before we stand before judgment. Do not be fooled by the sudden softening of their voice. Do not mistake their urgency for genuine remorse. The confession forming on their lips isn't born from the seed of regret. It's the desperate calculation of someone standing at the edge of a cliff with the ground crumbling beneath their feet. They reach for you not as a friend, seeking forgiveness, but as a drowning person, grasping for anything that might keep them afloat. Their legal team has reviewed the evidence, examined every angle, explored every possible defense, and arrived at one devastating conclusion: what they did cannot be hidden anymore. The truth has grown too massive to contain. It pushes against every barrier they've erected, bends every lock, stretches every chain until nothing can hold it back. Their attorney has seen this pattern before, has watched clients who believed themselves untouchable suddenly facing the full force of consequences. The advice given wasn't about making things right, it was about damage control. Listen carefully to the words they choose. Watch how they frame their confession. They will attempt to twist their narrative even now, to admit wrongdoing while still casting you as the antagonist in their story. Yes, but you pushed me to it. Yes, but you weren't innocent either. Yes, but you have to understand my situation at the time. Manipulation, until the very end. They hope to find in you a soft heart, a forgiving nature they can exploit one final time. They pray you'll be so grateful for any acknowledgement of their wrongs that you'll accept their half-truths and partial admissions. Their attorney advised confession, but never specified complete honesty. Do not be deceived. This is not the beginning of healing. This is the final move in a game they're still trying to win. They stand before you not to make amends, but to protect themselves from the tsunami of justice forming on the horizon. You were supposed to be overwhelmed by their tactics. You were meant to be silenced by their intimidation. You were designed to be removed from the equation entirely, a footnote in the story they were writing for themselves. They miscalculated, catastrophically. Instead of drowning under the weight of their schemes, you rose. Instead of fragmenting under pressure, you solidified. You stand now not as their victim, but as the living embodiment of everything they feared. Resilience that cannot be broken, truth that cannot be buried, power that cannot be diminished. Watch now as those who once doubted your claims are forced to acknowledge your strength. See how quickly allegiances shift when evidence becomes undeniable. The very system they manipulated to work against you is now turning on them with the cold efficiency of machinery recalibrating to its proper function. False claims collapse like houses built on sand. Manipulated evidence dissolves under scrutiny. Betrayals surface like bodies rising from the depths of murky waters. What was done in darkness screams now in the light, demanding to be acknowledged. Even their allies, those who stood shoulder to shoulder with them against you, are stepping back, creating distance, making calculations about their own survival. Rats fleeing a sinking ship, each one suddenly concerned with their own possible exposure. The network of support they relied upon is disintegrating before their eyes, leaving them standing alone in the wreckage of their making. Their attorney sees this isolation clearly, knows that isolation in legal battles is death. A defendant standing alone carries weight differently than one surrounded by supporters. Juries sense it, judges notice it. The scales of justice respond to it. This is why the urgent advice: reach out before we enter that courtroom. Find some way to neutralize them before we face what awaits us there. Beyond the legal proceedings, beyond the material evidence, beyond the visible collapse of their position, something far more profound is occurring. A spiritual reckoning has been unleashed that operates according to laws more ancient than any courtroom could contain. They tried to bind your essence with their schemes. They attempted to control your destiny with their manipulations. They sought to diminish your power through their attacks. What they failed to comprehend was the cosmic contract they violated in doing so. Your resilience extends beyond mere psychological strength. It is connected to forces they cannot see, measure, or understand. While they operated in the realm of human schemes, you were protected in domains beyond their comprehension. Now their plans backfire with supernatural precision. Everything they sent toward you returns to them multiplied. Every trap they set becomes their prison. Every weapon they forged becomes their undoing. The spiritual law of return fulfills itself with mathematical exactness. What they put out comes back tenfold. They may approach you with tears gathering in their eyes, voice breaking with emotion, hoping to activate your compassion. They may speak of their suffering, their losses, their fears for the future. They may even genuinely feel these things now. Pain has a way of opening doors to awareness that remained closed during times of triumph. Remain detached from their emotional appeals. This burden was created by their choices, crafted by their hands, set in motion by their intentions. The weight they now carry is precisely calibrated to the actions they freely chose. This is not your burden to lighten. The spiritual forces now in motion cannot be halted by your forgiveness or compassion. The wheels turn regardless of your personal feelings toward them. Justice at this level transcends individual emotion. It is the universe restoring balance where imbalance was created. While spiritual consequences unfold in invisible realms, the material world reflects this balancing with stark clarity. There, wealth, once seemingly unlimited, now drains away through legal fees, settlements, and judgments. Their status, once unquestioned, now carries the tarnish of exposed deception. Their stability, once the envy of others, now crumbles visibly. Look, you already know the game is rigged, and if you're paying attention, you know the walls are closing in. So let's talk about what we're doing about it. When you live by the day at the market's command, where profit and property rule, the land, to be heard, to be held, to be dealt a fair hand, these are the things that a people demand, and we hear you. The Obsidian Inner Order has paywalls, yes. Those who stand with us, who fuel this mission, they give us ammunition to fight. The Archons, to push back against the machine, to go deeper, to uncover more. And as our thank you, paid members get access to a 1-hour live, personalized weekly group tarot reading, guidance, insight, and clarity for the road ahead. But kicking a man for being down on the floor, that's something we cannot ignore. That's why starting today, you can steal the Astral Atom exclusive daily newsletter for free. No paywall, no catch. Just join the Patreon free tier. Link in the description. This is the start of our conversation with you, and it's bi-directional. You can reply to any email we send you. We'll read it, we'll hear you, and we'll do our best to get an answer to you from the universe itself. If you can support, we need you. If you can't, take what's free. The Obsidian Inner Order is open. Now, let's get back to work. The same resources they once used against you now deplete at astonishing speed. Bank accounts empty, assets freeze, credit lines close. The financial fortress they built, perhaps even the foundation from which they launched their attacks against you, now reveals itself to be constructed of papers that burn easily in the fire of consequences. Debt accumulates like snow in a blizzard. Lawsuits multiply as others recognize the pattern you identified long ago. Financial ruin approaches not as a distant possibility, but as an advancing certainty. Their attorney sees the projections, understands the trajectories, recognizes the inevitable conclusion if some intervention doesn't occur immediately. They might appear before you, speaking of reconciliation, healing, and making amends. The true motivation translates differently in the language of reality. Survival, pure, desperate survival. They reach for you not as someone they wish to restore relationship with, but as a potential lifeline in a storm that threatens to consume them entirely. You owe them nothing. Not your attention, not your energy, not your forgiveness, not your assistance. The financial collapse they face results from formulas they themselves created and set into motion. Their downfall unfolds according to principles of cause and effect that operate with or without your participation. Remember this truth when they stand before you asking, perhaps for the first time in your relationship, for mercy. Their request comes not from revelation about your worth, but from revelation about their circumstances. The distinction matters enormously. In this moment of their desperation, you possess something that may feel like power, the choice of how to respond. Will you listen to their confession? Will you accept their apology? Will you assist in lessening the consequences they face? These questions may occupy your thoughts as you anticipate their approach. Yet here stands a greater truth. You don't need to react at all. The machinery of justice operates independently of your response. The truth works tirelessly without requiring your participation. Your vindication proceeds whether you engage with them or maintain complete silence. Their confession, whether offered fully or partially, whether sincere or strategic, changes nothing about the path already set in motion. Their fate was sealed, not by your actions, but by their own. The courtroom awaits them regardless of whether you grant audience to their 11th hour remorse. The battle you fought was never fundamentally about them. They were merely the visible manifestation of a greater process unfolding through your life, a process of growth, strength building, and alignment with your divine purpose. What appeared as their attack against you was, from a higher perspective, the universe's method of positioning you precisely where you needed to be. Justice approaches with the certainty of dawn following night. It requires neither your push nor your permission. It advances according to laws that transcend human manipulation. Your role now is not to ensure justice happens, but simply to witness its unfolding without being drawn back into their chaos. Understand this. Cosmic forces conspire toward your vindication with the precision of celestial mathematics. What appears as coincidence to others reveals itself to you as orchestrated perfection, evidence emerging at exactly the right moment. Witnesses finding courage at precisely the necessary time, documents surfacing when most needed. The same divine timing that allowed their deception to continue until the perfect moment now works with equal precision toward their exposure. Nothing is random, nothing is accidental. Each revelation clicks into place like tumblers in a cosmic lock, opening doors to justice that no human force can close again. Their attorney recognizes this momentum, this unstoppable progression toward truth, with the clarity that comes from years observing how justice ultimately prevails. The advice to confess stems not from moral awakening, but from professional recognition. The evidence forming against them is insurmountable. The case building around them is airtight. The judgment awaiting them is certain. While they slept in false security, universal forces gathered what was needed for this moment. While they moved through the world, believing their version of reality would stand unchallenged, the actual truth was being preserved in ways they could never have anticipated. Text messages they thought deleted, surveillance footage they never knew existed, witnesses they believed silenced, who found their voices at exactly the right moment. The attorney sees all this evidence with professional detachment and delivers the verdict they desperately hoped to avoid hearing. There is no defense against what they have. Your only option is to approach them before we enter that courtroom. Set the record straight now, before the judge does it for you. Stand now in the knowledge that you occupy unshakable ground. Your position is not built upon shifting sand, but upon the bedrock of truth that withstands every storm. While they scramble to reconstruct their narrative, your story remains consistent because it never required fabrication. You speak the same words today that you spoke from the beginning, not because you've memorized a script, but because truth requires no revision. They exhaust themselves trying to patch holes in their sinking ship while you sail forward on waters that support your journey. Their attorney knows the power of consistent testimony, knows how juries respond to a witness whose story never wavers, knows the devastating impact of documented evidence that perfectly aligns with that testimony. The legal strategy shifts from attack to damage control when such alignment becomes evident in the opposing case. As they approach you with their confession, partial or complete, sincere or strategic, remember the contrast between your positions. They come from desperation. You stand in certainty. They speak from fear. You exist in knowledge. They scramble to minimize consequences. You already walk the path of your vindication. You need not rush to respond when they reach out. Take the time that belongs to you. Consider what serves your highest good, not what might ease their discomfort. The universe has waited patiently. For this alignment, you are entitled to the same deliberation. Beyond human legislation, beyond courtroom procedures, beyond legal consequences, they violated eternal laws that govern reality at levels they never considered. These laws operate with perfect precision regardless of human awareness or belief. They function across time, space, and circumstance with unwavering consistency, the law of cause and effect. What they initiated returns to them with perfect symmetry, the law of harvest. What they planted, they now reap in multiplied abundance. The law of integrity, the distance between their words and their actions, creates the exact measure of their suffering. Their attorney understands only the human laws they've broken. The legal counsel sees only the courtroom consequences approaching. What remains invisible to their legal team is the greater reckoning occurring across dimensions of existence that no legal strategy can address. You, however, recognize the fuller scope of what unfolds. You see beyond the immediate legal proceedings to the cosmic balancing that no human intervention can prevent. This knowledge allows you to witness their confession, should you choose to hear it, with the detachment of someone who understands that justice has already been set in motion at levels far beyond the pending court date. As this drama approaches its culmination, notice those gathering to witness. Some who doubted your claims now watch with wide eyes as evidence confirms what you stated from the beginning. Some who questioned your stability now observe with dawning comprehension as reality aligns precisely with your allegations. Some who dismissed your concerns now pay careful attention as the truth reveals itself in undeniable forms. Their attorney advised confession partly because spectators multiply daily. What might have been minimized as a private dispute now attracts attention from expanding circles. What could have been dismissed as unsubstantiated claims now draws examination from multiple perspectives. The private courtroom they hoped for has transformed into an arena visible to many. You need not announce their approach or their confession. The truth announces itself with sufficient volume. You need not defend your position or explain your experience. The evidence speaks with greater authority than any explanation you could offer. Your vindication occurs not through your efforts to convince others, but through the natural emergence of what has always been real. When they stand before you, confession forming on their lips, attorney's advice echoing in their ears, desperation evident in their eyes, remember that you are not alone in witnessing this moment. The same spectators who will fill that courtroom. Watch now as they attempt to mitigate what cannot be prevented. The audience for their humiliation grows daily, not through your invitation, but through the magnetic power of truth revealing itself. As their attorney prepared them for the inevitable court date, one final revelation shattered whatever composure. They still maintained this case was never about winning or losing in the conventional sense. This confrontation was never primarily about human justice or legal outcomes. This entire process, from their first action against you to the approaching courtroom reckoning, serves a purpose far greater than personal vindication. It stands as a testament to immutable principles that govern reality itself. Truth cannot remain buried. Justice finds its way through every barrier. What is done in darkness eventually screams in light. Their attorney advised confession for practical reasons, to potentially mitigate sentencing, to demonstrate cooperation, to establish some measure of contrition before facing judgment. What their legal counsel could never articulate is the spiritual dimension of their situation, that this confession offers them perhaps their final opportunity to realign with truth before cosmic forces deliver consequences that transcend anything the legal system might impose. As they approach you now, rehearsed words on their tongue, calculated vulnerability in their expression, know that you witness not merely a person attempting to escape consequences, but a soul confronting the fundamental laws of existence that cannot be circumvented through clever legal strategy or manipulative appeals to emotion. Their attorney told them to set the record straight with you before they go to court. Not because your forgiveness changes legal outcomes, but because even their legal counsel intuitively recognizes the primacy of truth over all other considerations. Not because your acceptance of their apology alters judicial consequences, but because something beyond rational explanation demands alignment with reality before any true resolution can occur. Stand now in the full awareness of your position. You are neither victim nor victor in this human drama. You are the immovable constant around which their deceptions shattered themselves. While they exhausted themselves constructing elaborate falsehoods, you simply remained aligned with what was real. Your power was never in fighting but in existing as the embodiment of truth they tried desperately to obscure. Their attorney's advice, set the record straight before court, arrives too late to alter the fundamental reality. The record writes itself with or without their confession. Justice advances with or without their acknowledgement. The truth reveals itself with or without their cooperation. Let them approach if they must. Let them speak if they choose. Let them confess if they dare. You remain unmoved, centered in the cosmic certainty that what was always true now becomes visible to all.